I'm going to share my screen quickly. So in terms of research, first of all, I wanted to share with you the basic pattern for research. So what I would suggest is, first of all, the one thing I noticed with Rob is, yes, it's great if the first thing you found is good, and you may have prior knowledge about what's good, but in this exercise, it was to go out and really look for quite a few options. It's really worth always doing breadth first search, even if you know. So the basic steps are breadth first, then depth, i.e. you search for a lot of things, skimming them often at the beginning before you dig into particular ones, right? So in this case, if you were following me, I'd have probably done like Git tutorial, or something, right? Then I'd have thought, often the thing that happens, and I don't know why my computer is now choosing to be slow, but I might have also had like this try.resources to learn Git. I'd have opened a whole bunch of this, Git tutorial, Git tutorials and chaining, the simple guide. And then I thought, one of the things that's going on here is I probably want to have Git tutorial for beginners. Yeah. And I'd have then modified my search. So one of the things you're doing here is you're going through quite a rapid loop where you see things and then you update what you're searching for based on that, right? Yeah. And then I'd actually open maybe 5 or 10 tabs, because then I don't slow down waiting for my tab to load, right? And ensure to get, this is HubSpot. So these are the ones other people found. The Git basics, learning branching, that looks a bit sophisticated maybe. I might occasionally go to page 2 of Google, right? And now, meanwhile, I haven't been waiting for slow pages to load. They should already be loaded if I'm lucky. I just don't know why things are being slow at the moment. But here we go, right? Git handbook, resources to learn Git, cheat sheets, visualizing it. So I might then start looking at some of these, right? And what I would be doing is I will do it currently in our doc. Let me, not this one. But in this doc, I'm going to pretend this was my research scratch pad. Obviously what I would do is I'd just dump a bunch, and I would just start, once I found ones that I thought were good, let's over here, I might be like, I would be dumping them in here and making a note about them, right? Yeah. And I might be like, need to look at further. I might dump to-dos in there. I might evaluate them. So let's have a look, what I thought of them. So this looks like a tutorial introduction to Git. So, importing a new Git project. Okay. Well, that looks a little bit complicated, but this one I would be like, oh, this is pretty thorough, but maybe too thorough, or something. I might have had that impression. I might have tried it out quickly. I'm going faster than obviously I would normally go. I'd go and read these pages in a little bit more detail than I'm doing, but I might sometimes skim it this quickly. Yeah. And then I would probably maybe identify a short list of maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe 5, depending on what I'm doing, that I'm going to go look at it in a bit more detail. Maybe I'm going to spend 5 or 10 minutes looking at them. Yeah. Yeah. After I might have got a list here of like 10 or so, right, that I've just dumped in. And then I might pick 3 or 4 or 5 that I'm going to look at in more detail. Yeah. And so this is the capture quickly into inbox. So you boot a scratchpad. It might be a Google Doc. It might be a HackMD. You boot somewhere, you can just dump things in. You can link things. You can put stuff in. You can dump screenshots. On other projects, you might want to take a screenshot quickly and dump it. Somewhere you can do that. Then once you've got a reasonable number, you're going to think about organizing. You're going to, and then, as I said, you might organizing, and there's a kind of, it might also be here that you dig deeper, or it might be in the previous step. You often will go in loops here, right? To be clear, this isn't just linear. You might loop round some of these steps. If after you've done some research, you find that the first 3 or 4 are no good, you're going to go out back again and look for more examples. So it's not a linear set of steps. You can loop back if you don't have enough. But at this point, you might start organizing. And I might be like Stella Maurice, which was excellent. I might start thinking, what are my criteria? Okay, so it might be, the number, the thoroughness of it. It might be the fact that it's got a video or it's not got a video. The fact that it's got a step-by-step. The fact that it tells me about the concepts. You can imagine all kinds of different criteria you might evaluate the tutorial on. Yeah? Maybe it's interactive. I don't know, There are lots of different ways you might evaluate it. Yeah? But at this point, I would start to think about the criteria I have. Yeah. So in this case, I might start thinking, okay, what are my criteria? Well, my criteria are, depth, size, has a video or not, interactive. these are obviously normally going to be based, rather than doing this in advance, it's better to do it once you've actually looked at a few tutorials to get an idea of what you might be looking for in terms of criteria. Okay, is it interactive? You know, does it explain the concepts? Yeah. By the way, have you guys had any problem with my video, or is my video working okay? My screen share?
Sometimes it's slower, but it's working.
Okay. This is going to be quit Opera. That will help. Okay. I don't know what I didn't just save, but hey, okay. So, does it explain the concepts? You might have other criteria. Some of those criteria are what I would call judgment criteria, and some of those criteria are kind of like factual. Does it have a video or not, etc. Is it, how long is it, etc. So at this point, what you then might want to do, and it depends. Sometimes you have an evaluation that can just be in a doc where there's just different. Normally, by the way, in organizing stuff, I'd start to have headings. So I might turn this into a heading. So the Git book. You know, I might start having headings. I might start having bullet points to make it a little bit tidier. You know, I might start thinking about, you know, size, long. I'm starting to list things. But I might, at this point, if I'm starting to have quite a bit of metadata, I might start to have a structure. Yeah. So, for example, this was an example set to a team recently, which was to look up programming quizzes. And I think that you did some of these quizzes. And you can see what they did is they started to have quite a lot of items. They had a lot of quizzes. These are the URLs. They started to turn it into a structured mini database. Yeah, there'd be a title for the quiz. There was what language it was testing. There was the URL for the quiz, the skill level, what kind of. So we went through and there were all kinds of criteria that they started to have for the quiz. And then they even had scoring, like how did they evaluate the quiz as being good or bad, right? I think that now may be missing, but at some point someone was ranking the quizzes, yeah? Okay, so you can see that at this point, when you've got a lot of staff, it tends to not be so good in a doc to get an overview and to score things. You know, another example might be here is the quizzical platform research, and you can find these in the drive. But for example, here, the person has actually got a judgment scale that they're scoring things out of over here, and that then allows them to give it an overall score. Yeah. Here we go. You can see there's a total score, which allows you to have a kind of a systematic ranking. So you might have systematically ranked your Git tutorials. That would be a bit overkill for this one, but for the mind map tool, I can imagine it might be useful. So this gives you an example of what like really structured research on a question like this might look like. Yeah. Now the research question that I'm giving you for the next class is not exactly the same, but it's similar, right? It's actually asking you to come up with a particular piece of information, but in doing that, you might come up with other aspects of the item you're looking at. So you're looking at cloud storage, and I'm asking about the pricing of it, but it will turn out that cloud storage isn't just like one thing. There isn't just a price per gigabyte. There will be other features that you might want to record. And a particularly impressive outcome would be a way to rank the items even though they've got these multiple dimensions. It's like a car has speed, price, boot space in the car. It would be came up with some way to show that. Okay, so that's a lightning tour of research. Okay.